Good. Hello, everyone. Let's begin where we left off yesterday. This is the Torah reading, which is called Kadoshim, and it has in it about 50 commandments. 50 commandments. Some say it's 48. Some say it's different ways of counting. Some of this it's 51. But here we go. We'll count them. Right. Meanwhile, we learned yesterday that you have to fear your mother and father and keep Shabbat. Right? Remember learning that yesterday? What's the connection between keep Shabbat? Because I am God. Let's see what this is. Let's look at the Kli Ykar. Kli Ykar. He says Rashi. He brings down what Rashi says. Just one moment. Let me turn on the air conditioner. Excuse me. Excuse me. One moment. One moment. Air conditioners. Thank God the summer has finally arrived in Israel. I mean, thank God for everything. But this year in Israel, there was a lot of rain. Woo! Big blessing. Kinneret River is filled up. The whole world is going crazy. And in Israel, we have the worst government you could possibly imagine, and everything is working okay. Try to make every mistake possible, and it's working. Here we have the Kinneret is filled. It's a big blessing. Huh? Nothing's lacking. Okay. So here we go. What's what it says? Honor your mother and father and keep Shabbat. So let's see. According to the reason that this commandment of honoring your mother and father is because it's proper to give them honor because they brought you into the world, the Or HaHavaya. They, so to speak, were partners in your creation. Allahu avicha kanecha, and also God is also one of the three partners in your creation. God created you. How can you not give a little bit of credit l'mi shehimtziacha, that created you? Because without God, lo haya lecha mitziut kla, you wouldn't even exist. Huh? So what is the Rabbi Ephraim Shlomo Lunchitz saying? He's saying that's a Kli Ykar. He's saying that God is a partner in your creation. He's not only a partner in your creation, but he is your creator. He's creating you. Therefore, if your father tells you Chalel Shabbat, don't keep the Shabbat, kadei latot belibacha, in order to latat belibacha, to put into your, to make stray your heart and think that the world is first, ubilti mechudesh, and it is not from nothing, kadei lamin she'ein lecha shum av acher, and your father, why would your father do a thing like that? That he would have your total loyalty. Zulato. He is the one that created you. Lomar, and you can say, Kol ze lefatotcha. Lefatotcha. Shedevatel ratzon avicha shebashamayim. Right? Your father says, listen, it says in the Bible, you're supposed to honor me, right? Finally, the Bible is making sense. Of course you have to honor me. I brought you into the world. Without me, you wouldn't even be here. So, therefore, let's go on hunting, on Shabbat. Let's go dig a hole, right? Let's go planting, work in the field on Shabbat. It's my field. You're my son. You belong to me, and I'm your only owner. You say to him, I'm sorry, but we both have an owner, and that is our Father in heaven. Therefore, and God says, I should not have any desire, and I should not listen to you if you tell me to go against him, because he's really the father of all. In other words, if I'm supposed to do what your father tells you, let's start working the fields, let's start plowing and doing other things which are forbidden on Shabbat, because I'm your father. So you say, okay, if I should listen to you because you're my father and you agree, right, that you should listen to your father, so how much more so you should listen to your father. Therefore, you have to completely negate yourself and also your father's will in front of God's will. Because God is really our true father, and we are honored. We have to give him honor. But if your father tells you have to do some other sin, so simple, obviously you can't do it. Not just Shabbat, but anytime. Calls a mother. This is just an example. Because your father and your mother, they are your parents, yes, and you have to give them honor. Why? Because God commanded you to give them honor. So if they tell you Shabbat to defile, you don't listen to them. But really, any commandment is the same. Why did he pick Shabbat? Because Shabbat is the day that we testify that God created us. God created everything from nothing. Fourth of the 10. It's also the fourth of the 10 commandments. In the 10 commandments. Because the whole thing of the Shabbat, what is the whole thing of Shabbat? That we have to believe that God renews the world. He is the Father. He is the originator of all of us. And therefore, you don't have to have a commandment to do unless im yavo lechlok al shurish. The only time you have to have a commandment is that if you might think to go against God. Hashorish mirosh emunas al zeh ata tzarich. On this, now you have to have a commandment, and that God tells you keep Shabbat, because it's obvious something must. I mean, nobody creates themselves. So how do we exist? So we can say, well, nobody creates me, right? So nobody creates me whatsoever. That's false. That's against what Judaism says. And if there's no one creating me, then there's no one commanding me either. So I don't have to give honor to my parents either. Why should I give honor to them? Right? I'll give honor when my parents are around. As soon as, right, they die, so then I'm the boss. That's all. I don't have to give honor. Really, you have to give honor to your parents even after they pass away. Gama Shabbat, because Shabbat also shows that you have to give honor to your parents. There are three partners in a person: father and mother and God. The reason your father and mother are partners with you, even though God really does the whole thing, is because your father and mother have free will. So because of their free will, they can decide to have relations or not. And because that's their little tiny part, and I mean, the free will is also a gift from God, but nevertheless, it is free will. That's the gift. So because they can use their free will, so God makes them full partners. Pretty interesting. Okay. Don't go after, we did this yesterday, but we'll do it quickly. Don't go after the false gods, or don't make any molten gods for yourself, or nobody should make it for you. I am God, your God. We talked about this a bit yesterday, right? When you make a sacrifice to God, this is called a shlomim. Sevach shlomim. Shlomim are offerings that you eat, that the owner eats, and a part also goes to the Kohanim, and part is burned up. That's why it's called peace offering. It makes peace between you and God. He gets a part, and the Kohanim, and you get a part of the offerings. The Ritzonchem, you have to eat it within 2 days. On the third day, you have to burn it. And if you eat it on the third day, pigul, then it's pigul. Okay, this is a bit misleading because it's really not pigul. Pigul is when you sacrifice the animal, when you're slaughtering it, or when you're receiving the blood, or when you're taking the blood, the Kohen, whatever, takes the blood to the altar, or when he burns up the pieces on the altar, he's thinking about eating it in a late time, wrong time. Because his thought is what makes the offering not any good. And the Kli Ykar brings up that those are, the reason he brings this thing of pigul is because there's only two things that can be negated by thought. There's only two times. There's no sin in Judaism to think bad thoughts. To think bad thoughts. Of course, it's not according to Judaism. We learned Kadoshim to you. The first thing we learned over here, that a person has to have proper intention and etc. But it's not that's a general principle. It's not an actual commandment. There's only two things that can be defiled by bad thoughts, and that is sacrifices. If you make the sacrifice with the thought to eat it in the wrong time or in the wrong place, pigul, then that's, especially at the wrong time, that's called pigul, and it's forbidden. Also, idolatry. If you do things with the thought of idolatry, for instance, if you slaughter a chicken in your house right? And the person who's slaughtering it, he slaughters the chicken for the name of the church or whatever. So that disqualifies the slaughtering. Disqualifies it. Only those two things: idolatry and sacrifices. It's also, you're not supposed to stray after. It's in Shema. We'll learn that later. You're not allowed to even think about worshiping other idols or gods or whatever. Okay, let's do some of the commandments here. This is what we got up to yesterday. When you cut the produce of your land, this is only for Israeli farmers. You have to leave the corners of your field. You shouldn't finish the corners. The leket kitzurcha, and also the leket. Leket are the grains of sheaths, whatever, of wheat that you forgot to gather up. There's leket. There's also shichcha that you didn't gather up, as you should leave them. Don't gather them. Don't go back and pick them up. Why not? Why not go back and pick them up? Another thing, l'karmecha, if you have a vineyard, lo ta'olel, you shouldn't pick all of the grapes. Upirit karmecha, and some of the like small grapes, lo talaket, don't gather them up. All these things we said before, and there's qualifications, what it means, the small ones and which ones you have to leave. Says which ones you have to leave. You have to leave them for the poor people and for the convert. You leave them. Ani Hashem Elokeichem, and I am the one. I am your God. I am your God. Okay, the reason for the ani, for the ger, is because these people are, one is poor, one has no family. A convert doesn't have any family. So these people, you have to have mercy on them and leave for them, in addition to giving charity, of course, but also in the time of the harvest of the of the harvest of the wheat, how that word came out, I don't know. That wheat harvest and the grape harvest, you have to leave certain pieces, the corners of your field, and etc. You have to leave them behind, so that we're going to look into the book Shalom Herschel. We're going to look into the commandments in just a moment. Okay, now we're leaving the agricultural laws. Ready? Lo tignovu, don't steal. Lo techachashu, don't deny debts that you have. Lo teshakru, do not lie. Do not lie, say falsehoods, each mamito, one person to another. Rashi, lo tignovo, do not steal. Hey, we already learned that in the 10 Commandments, didn't we? It says, no, this is a commandment not to steal money. Of a lo tignov, but that what it says, don't steal in the 10 Commandments, that's talking about kidnapping. How do we know that? Dover al minyano. Because all of the 10 Commandments are talking about crimes that could bring to a death penalty. It's a thing which is punishable by death. Stealing money is not punishable by death. Kidnapping is. And there's also, in order to be punishable by death with kidnapping, there's a lot of qualifications. You have to use the person, and you have to be warned. All death penalties in Judaism, the person has to be warned. He has to be properly warned. We'll see what it means to be properly warned. And he has to immediately, after the warning, he has to do the sin in front of 2 witnesses. It's almost impossible to bring a person to, but nevertheless, God certainly is not pleased. I mean, it's punishable. Okay. Lo techachashu, what does it mean, techachashu? Like it says, kacheshbo, this is talking about you borrow money from somebody, you refuse to pay him back, or you take a surety, somebody leaves something by you, and you refuse to give it back to him. Right? He says, let me leave my car. And then he comes back, hey, where's my car? I don't know what you're talking about. You didn't leave a car by me. Meanwhile, what did he do? He got in a car wreck or something like that. So if they discover that you're lying, then you have to pay back the value of the car and also a fifth. Lamado Onish, we learn that there's a punishment, but every commandment, every negative commandment has to be repeated twice. It has to be one for the punishment and one for the essential prohibition. That's what it says. Lo techachashu, velo techachashu ish et amito. Right? Velo techachashu. See, it says another elsewhere. Velo techachashu. Velo teshakru, don't lie, because it says don't make an oath. Therefore, you have to pay the value of the thing and add on a fifth. So we learn. Oh, I'm sorry. I went to the wrong thing. Here we go. Yes, that's what. So it says. That's what it says. The punish. How do you know the it says lo teshakru? In other words, it's mentioned two times. Once for the punishment and once for the prohibition. If you steal, in the end, you're going to deny it. In the end, you're going to lie. And in the end, you're going to make an oath to God, you're going to start taking false oaths to God. Don't make an oath in my name falsely. And you profane the name of God. I am God. Very, very common. This is very relevant to us now, because you hear people say, I swear to God, I didn't do it. Right? That's forbidden to do. Especially if you're lying, right? It's forbidden to do. Here it says, Lamonam, why does it say? Because it says you're not allowed to take the name of God in vain. The third of the 10 commandments. You might think that the only time is if you take God's name, special God's name, the 4-letter name of God that begins with Yud, Menayim l'Rabbos Kol HaKinoim. If you say any other name, right? Let's say you say, what is it? Like I swear to God, or mon Dieu, my God, or whatever it is, how you say it in Spanish, any other language, says lo tishavu b'shem sheker, any name that I've got. So if you say by the Almighty, I swear that I will never do. We'll learn some details. There's oaths in the present, oaths in the past, the past and the future. Right? I swear I did a certain thing. I swear I did not do something. I swear I will do a certain thing. I swear I won't do such a thing. All these, if you take in the name of God, it's forbidden. It's punishable. You're not allowed to lie at all, even not in the name. Lo sa'ashoket re'echa v'lo tigzol. Don't, pressure your fellow man. Don't steal. Don't leave the wages of a worker until the morning. You have to pay every single day, on time. Let's look at Rashi. Lo ta'ashok. This is what if somebody works by you and you don't pay him on time. Lo talin. This is lo talin mosav ala pu'ula. This means that you should not let it stay. The reward, don't allow this reward to stay by you in the nighttime. Don't do it, this action, until the morning. What does it mean? This is talking about a person that you agreed to pay him by the day. He just works in the daytime, and the nighttime he goes home. Therefore, the time he can collect his money the whole night. Another place it says, it says that the sun should not rise up on him. Or maybe it means the sun should not set for him. So when does he have to collect? Until the sun rises up or until the sun sets? If he works for you in the daytime, you have to pay him that next night sometime before the sun comes up. If he works for in the night, then you have to pay him the next day before the sun sets. Therefore, Zman Gibu Escharo is Kol Hayom. But he finishes working when the sun comes up. Therefore, you have the next 12 hours to pay him. The Torah gives the time to pay. And generally, you have to pay on time. It's a command from the Torah. Here we have a couple of interesting ones. Lo tekalel cheresh. Do not curse a deaf person. What about a person that can hear? It's okay. Curse him. We'll see. Lifnei iver lo titein michshol. In front of a blind person, don't put, how do they call it in English? A stumbling block. Right? You see a blind person walking on the street, don't stick out your foot in front of him and trip him. I mean, that's pretty weird commandment. I mean, of course, anybody knows not to do that. We'll see. It doesn't mean, it means much more than this. You should have fear for God. I am God. What does this mean? Don't curse a deaf person. The Torah says don't curse a deaf person. How can I know that I shouldn't curse anybody? Another place it says, it says you should not curse anyone in your people. If so, why does it say over here, don't curse a deaf person? It already says don't curse anybody. So, I mean, the deaf person are also people. A deaf person, he's alive. A person who's dead, he's not called deaf. I've called b'chayim. This excludes a dead person. She'eno b'chayim. If you're not allowed to curse a dead person, a person that's already dead, you're not allowed to curse him. But if you do, it's not punishable. Not punishable. Which is not the case. Anyone who is alive, even if he's deaf, I mean, the person is deaf. He can't hear you cursing him, right? And you're saying bad things about him. He doesn't know what you're doing. You smile, have a big smile on your face, and say, I hope you drop dead. I hope this. Right? So he doesn't know you're saying something bad. Let's say cover your mouth up. Nowadays, everybody has masks over their face. And in front of a blind person, don't put a stumbling block. What does it mean? Not just blind people, it's forbidden. It means a person who is blind in a certain topic. Don't give him advice. Right? He doesn't know anything about buying cars. And you tell him, oh, this is a really good car, a used car salesman. This is a really good car. It says a perfect engine. You'll see, never was driven. I got him a special, and you're lying. It's not so. You're giving him bad advice. Don't say sell your field, and buy yourself instead of a field, take the money and buy 10 donkeys with it. And then you put the saddle on it, on the donkey, and you ride it away from him. You take it from him. Why shouldn't you do this? You should be afraid of God. Nobody knows nobody knows what really your intention was. If it was this person trusted you, right, and you gave him bad advice, maybe you're going to say, oh, listen, I made a mistake. Or maybe you really didn't make a mistake. You intentionally tricked the person. The only person that knows is you and God. You might think that you can get away with it and say, listen, I intended for the good. I didn't know that the market would fall. Therefore, Nehemiah says, you have to fear for God. God knows what you're thinking. God knows what you're thinking. Can't call davar in everything which is given to the heart of a person that does it. Right? God knows what's happening, how you can fool people. It's very easy to fool people. I've seen it happen a lot of times. People like to have friends, people like to be able to trust people, and you get close to somebody and you become a big friend with them, and you start giving them advice and you help them out, and it's only to trick the person. No one else knows what this person's intention is. It says, don't worry about it. God knows what's going on, and he will take care of it. Let's just do one or two more. 1 second. Let me see where this is. Here it is. Oh. Yeah. Okay, let's do this. There's 2 more, 3 more. The famous one I want to get to. Ready? Lo sisne asachicha. I'm sorry, skipped one. Lo sase aval b'mishpat. Do not judge improperly. Lo sate sita penei dal. Oh, I'm sorry. Lo sisa penei dal. Do not favor the face of the poor person. V'lo sedar penei gadol, and don't give honor to the rich person. But tzedek tishpot amitecha. What does this mean? It says, this teaches that a judge that he twists the judgment, he's called ovel. He's called, what ovel means, like how do you say it? An evil person. Sanui, he's hated. Meshuka, it's disgusting. Haram, he is, how do you say, excommunicated. Not a nice word. To'eva, he is, what's to'eva? He is another word for disgusting, evil, bad, regurgitating. Sha'avel karui to'eva. That a person that's an evil person, this is called disgusting to God. Shenemar ki to'evas Hashem koles ovel. But to'eva is sheketz v'cherem. Last week we learned that this is applicable to homosexuality. It says it's a to'eva. It says shenemar v'lo tavi to'eva el betecha. Idolatry is called a to'eva. You will be disgusting like it. Shaketz to shaksener. You have to make it. It is disgusting. You have to. How do you say? Keep away from it. Lo tisa penei dal. Therefore, what is he saying? Idolatry is, of course, bad. All these forbidden sexual things, they're also disgusting. But also a judge that judges improperly, that really wrecks up the whole world. I mean, if in the Shemona Esrei that we pray, the Jewish people, religious Jews, they pray every day, 19 blessings, 3 times a day. The only one of them that says, God, please take away from us moaning and groaning and suffering, is by bad judges. By being sick, it doesn't say, God, heal the sick and take away our misery and take away. The only prayer that says, please, God, take away our misery, haser mimenu yagon v'anocha, take away from us misery and groaning, is by bad judges. Hoshiva shevteinu rishana. Okay, judges cannot give honor, should not have mercy on the poor. Shalot Omar, you shouldn't say, listen, this person is poor, and this rich guy, he has to pay him anyway. I mean, he's got an obligation to give charity. As Kenobadin, I'll say that the poor person is innocent, and it'll come out that he won't have to accept charity, right? But really, the fact is that the poor person was guilty. Right, the poor person said, I'll fix up your car, and he wrecked the car instead. So now the rich person, he's got millions. What does he need the car for? Right, he can buy himself a new car. So I'll say, you know what? I'll say that the poor person, he's really innocent, and that he has to pay him for the time that he worked on the car, because this guy's got millions anyway. He says, don't do it. If you're a judge, you have to judge righteously. If you want to afterwards give him charity from your own pocket, do it. You want to tell the rich person, listen, I found this guy guilty, but come on, he's the poor person. Give him charity. That's okay. But as far as judgment, you can't twist the judgment just to have mercy on somebody. You can't say, oh, the other way around. Don't favor a rich person. Say, this person is rich. How can I embarrass him and show that his shame, right? The poor person says the rich person drove over his bicycle, right? And the rich person says, leave me alone. What are you talking about? I didn't drive over your bicycle. I could care less about your bicycle. But the fact is he's guilty. He's guilty. So you can say listen, how can I embarrass this big rich guy and say he's guilty? No. That not only that, he's denying, I'm going to say that he lied in court. Therefore, it says, lo tedar b'nei gadol. Doesn't make any difference how the person, you just look at 2 things. What is the case and what does God say about it? But tzedek tishpot amitecha, that's what it means. It says, dan es chavero lekav sahud. This is speaking about judgment, but some people say this is just talking about day-to-day life. But if you ever see somebody doing something wrong, try to learn excuses about him. And we're going to see in a moment, that's the whole thing of loving your neighbor as yourself. Loving yourself. What does it mean, love your neighbor as yourself? It means that just why you always find excuses for yourself, whatever you do, that you, if you make mistakes, say, listen, it was just a little mistake. You did a sin. What can I do? I had wasn't in a good mood. The same we do to other people. You see another person that does a sin, listen, probably was just a mistake, probably wasn't in a good mood. Always judge a person l'kaf zechut, for the side of merit. Don't go rechil b'amecha. Oh, big commandment. Rashi has a lot to say about this. Rechil means that you're not supposed to go around as like a rochel, as a traveling salesman. There's people that they say gossip. And here it even means more than just gossip. This is damaging speech, what they call lashon hora. It says don't say negative things, damaging things about people. Lo tamod al dam recha, and do not stand on the blood of your friend. Now, some people say this is talking about two different things. Don't stand on the blood of your friend. Here it says that if you see someone is in danger and you can save him, for instance, somebody who's drowning in a sea, or animals or whatever are coming on him, and you can save him, don't say, listen, I'll take a little bit of time, I'll think about it. Why should I get myself wet? It says, I am God. Ani Hashem. I am God. If you help him, I'll pay the reward. Like it says, and if you don't help him, don't help the person, as I also know how to punish, says God. Here Rashi explains this word about why is it called saying bad things about people. It's called a rochel, rachil, because he wanders around and he gets information from Reuven, and then he tells Shimon what Reuven said, and then he tells Levi what Levi said about Shimon, what Reuven said about him, what he was, and he makes big troubles between everybody. The newspapers are excellent at this. This is very exciting. More exciting to make war than to make peace. Don't hate your brother in your heart, but rather you should reprove him. Says, what does it mean? Lo talbin et panav. You should not hate somebody in your heart. If you hate another person, you should go and tell him. I think you did a sin. I think you did something wrong. Right? If you just hate the person in your heart, you don't say anything to him about it, then that's called a sin. Because you're sure. Why? Because if you see somebody's really doing something wrong, is you have to reprove him. You have to reprove him. Maybe you're wrong, right? You could say, listen, you stole money from me. The person says, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't steal any money. I don't know what you're talking about. I steal money. Well, you took $1,000 from me. You promised me that you would give it back, and you didn't pay it back. It says, that's not so. You owe me the $1,000. Don't you remember? Oh, yeah. I guess you're right. Right. That's right. I had a debt. Yeah. Remember, meanwhile, you go through your whole life hating this person because you didn't come out front with him. Or the person would say, I owe you $1,000. What are you talking about? You took a $1,000 loan from me. And you didn't pay it back. Says, wow, you're right. Oh, you're right. I really made a big mistake. I should pay you back. You're right. I forgot all about it. It could be the guy really did forget about it. It could be that he's just not a crooked person. And if you keep remembering him, at least he'll give you money back. You don't have to hate him anymore because he takes your money. In other words, you have to come out with it. Don't keep in your levavachos. Don't hate him in your heart. You have to reprove him. But when you do reprove him, don't do it in public. Don't pound on the table in the middle of the synagogue and say, Shmerel owes me $1,000 and he refuses to pay me back. I just wanted everybody to know, have a good day. Don't do that. Right? Take him aside, talk to him quietly in a pleasant way, etc. But tell him what sins that he did. Okay. I don't know if we're going to have much time. Here we go. Lo takum v'lo titor et b'nei amecha, to another Jew. By the way, stealing, we have over here stealing. It's forbidden to steal from a non-Jew also. Let's see if we can get to this. I didn't think it would take so much time, but okay. Lo takum Velotitor, don't take vengeance. Takom, don't take vengeance. Velotitor, and don't have a grudge. You have to love your neighbor as yourself. Let's look at this, what Rashi says. Lo takum, don't take vengeance. For instance, your next door neighbor says, you go to your next door neighbor and say, listen, do me a favor, I need a shovel. Quick, if you got a shovel, Omer Lo, he says, I have a shovel and I'm not giving it to you. The matter, the next day, Omer Lo, he comes to you and says, hey, can you loan me your shovel? Omer Lo, what are you talking about? Yesterday I asked you to give me a shovel and you refused. You see how it feels. I'm not going to give you a shovel. Right? That's called revenge. Omer Lo, Eini mishalcha, I'm not going to give you a shovel, just like you didn't give me one yesterday. This is called revenge, and it's forbidden. Ezo Natira, what does it mean, bearing a grudge? Omer Lo, your neighbor comes to me, you come to your neighbor and you say, please give me your shovel. And he says, no, I'm not going to give you a shovel. The next day he comes over to your house, same scenario, and he says, will you loan me a shovel? You say back to him, I'll give you a shovel. I'm not like you, right? You are a disgusting person. You didn't loan it to me, but I am, in other words, you keep it in your heart. You're bearing a grudge. That's called netira. Shenoter eva, that he has hatred in his heart because even though that he doesn't take vengeance on him, but he holds in his heart, you're not supposed to. And love your neighbor as yourself. Rabbi Akiva said, this is a Kli Gadol b'Torah. I want to tell you a short story about this. My wife has a good friend, and her grandchildren were over at her house, or she was visiting them. And one of them was like 3 and the other one was 4 or something. And they were fighting over a bicycle. And the older one just snatched the bicycle away, snatched it away from the young one, and he took it away. And the young one said, I'm going to get you one day. I am going to get you. You're going to see. I'm going to do something to it. So his grandmother said to him, you can't do that. So what can I do? What do you mean? He says, that's revenge. So sure, it's revenge. I'm going to get him. I'm going to see it. Nakama, it's called nakam. Takum, nakama, right? Takum. I'm going to take revenge. I'm going to get him. He says, you can't do that. It's forbidden. So the little kid, the 3-year-old, said, what does it say it's forbidden? Who says it's forbidden? It says in the Torah. You're not allowed to take revenge. Not only that, you're not even supposed to bear a grudge. So the little kid went away, 3-year-old kid went away. After about 10 minutes later, he came back to his grandmother and he said, Grandma, the Torah is really hard, right? In other words, all the 10 minutes he was battling with himself. I'm going to get him. I'm going to do it. And he thinks, no, one second, the Torah says I shouldn't do it, but I'm going to get him. He can't. No, but the Torah says I shouldn't do it. Well, I'm going to show him. No, the Torah says he shouldn't do it. He's got justly, right? He was, how do you say, he was damaged. The kid took away his bicycle. I'm going to get him back. Right? I'm going to do something back to him. To take the bicycle back, you can take it back. No doubt about it. You don't have to let him take it away. But on the other hand, you can't do it with hatred and this for another Jew. That's what he's saying. And you should love your neighbor as yourself. Says Rabbi Akiva, this is a Klal Gadol b'Torah. This is a general principle in the Torah that you have to love your neighbor as yourself. And this means several things. One main thing that it means is that you're supposed to, just the same way you make excuses for yourself all the time, as you have to make excuses for others. That's what Hillel was asked the same question. And he said, what's not good to you, don't do to others. How do they say it in English? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But that's pretty vague. I mean, that's pretty vague. I mean, let's say a person, he likes to fight. I used to know people like that. They like to fight. They would go down to bars, purposely get drunk and get into fights. They loved it. Get their teeth knocked out, knock out somebody else's teeth. So if you would like to get into fights, that means, you don't mind getting punched. You can punch other people also, right? What's not good to you, don't, but it is good to me to get punched, so I can punch them. So it's very vague. So he says, therefore, what does it mean? The same way that you don't see bad things in yourself, you make excuses for yourself. The bad things, do that for other people also. That's what it says, don't hate others. But also it means love your neighbor as yourself, just like your love for yourself that's what motivated you to make up these excuses, is also you should try to see the good in other people also and make excuses for them as well. Love your neighbor as yourself. This is a general principle in the whole entire Torah. Love others, even though some people, you should know that there are some people that actually do say this, and I've seen people, and people have told me, religious people, and they say, love your neighbor if he is like you. If he is like you. And really in the Tanya, it says something like this. It says something like this. But he says, it says in a little bit different way. It says, et amitecha. Then it says you should how do you say, reprove someone who is like you. It says, if he's like you, you have to reprove him and see the bad in him, tell him. But if he's not like you, you have to make excuses for him. If he doesn't know anything. But as far as loving your neighbor as yourself, it doesn't say that. It says you should love your neighbor with an unending love, just like you love yourself. Why? Because I am God. God is giving you, he's creating you, but he's also creating the other person as well. So I have love for him as well. I really wanted to go into, and I just want to show you at least the picture so that you'll know that I was serious about this. I actually did prepare it. Here it goes. Oh. See, Kadoshim. Here we have a few of the commandments. Let's do one or two of them. Here we have a negative commandment, not to steal anything, not anything or any money from anyone. This is even a little, if you steal a shava pruta. A shava pruta is like, I don't know, a dime or something, a nickel. This is not punishable by lashes, because any crime which can be rectified, you can do restitution, so it's not punishable by lashes. There's several things that aren't that aren't punishable by lashes, and this is one of them. It doesn't make any difference if you steal money from a Jew, an older Jew, a child, or a non-Jew. You must pay back. It is forbidden to steal anything from the Torah, even a little bit. Just you're only punishable if you steal a certain amount. Even a little tiny, you steal a penny from someone, it's forbidden. It's forbidden to steal in a way of a joke and give it back to the person afterwards. You're not allowed to. It's forbidden to buy something that you're almost sure that it was stolen, like to buy milk or goats from a shepherd, and from a shepherd, because you know the shepherd usually doesn't have his own sheep. He's just tending somebody else's sheep, and etc. This is from this prohibition is everywhere, all the time, males, females, etc. Negative command, we'll just do one or two more. Not to deny money. Like it says, lo techachashu. This means that if you owe someone money, let's say, or someone left by you something to be held in collateral or to watch, and you wrecked it or got wrecked, and you deny even ever having it. Any type of money, whether the person left it by you, or you owe someone money, or you stole money from someone, or you forced somebody to give you money, or you found, even if you find somebody's wallet and you refuse to give it back, or you deny, I don't know, I didn't find it. But Tover, and the person says, I know you did take it, I want it back. The kofar, and you deny it. You are doing a crime. This is a negative commandment. And even though you don't get lashed because you can just give it back to the person, but this disqualifies you from being a witness. You can never be a witness. You're considered to be a liar, and a liar cannot be a witness. Of course, you don't get beaten because you always can give it back. Negative commandment, not to take an oath in God's name on a lie for a lie. Sheker, this is denying money. Like it says, lo shakru ish amito. This is talking about mine. Also, it says lo sishavu. Where is it? Lo sechachashu. So lo lishva firis mama. Lo seshakruis ba'miso. Don't take an oath. If you take an oath and you swear that you don't owe a person money and you do, so first of all, you're guilty for taking God's name in vain. But also you have to pay back what you owe the person and add on to a fifth. You have to add a fifth, right? So if you deny, let's say, $1,000, so you have to pay the person back. There's two different opinions, but $1,250 you have to pay him back. So it comes out to be 1/5 on the outside. If you do it and you didn't know that it was the punishment, and you did it on purpose, but you didn't know that there was a punishment, that's called shogeg. That's called shogeg. Then you don't have to bring a sacrifice. 1 second. I'm sorry. Well, so let's look at this. One who claims from the other, even a little bit, 5 cents. And if somebody says, Bolton, you owe me 5 cents. And if I admit it, I'll have to pay him back. And I say, I don't owe you anything. I don't owe anything. And I make an oath. And I swear by heaven that I do not owe you anything. Or he makes me take an oath. And I took the oath, right? I swear I don't owe you anything. So therefore, I, the one who took the oath, I have to pay back, even though, or he says, take an oath, right? I make you swear. Overwrite. He says, I take an oath, even though he doesn't say amen, right? There says that's called a shvuas a pikadon. I swear I do not owe you anything. I have to pay back 6 cents back to the person. And I also have to bring a sacrifice to the Holy Temple. Now there's no temple. That's called an Asham Gazela. Whether I do it in ignorance or on purpose. What does it mean, ignorance? Ignorance means that I didn't know that I have to bring a sacrifice or not. But I knew that it was forbidden to take an oath, but I didn't know there was a sacrifice. And I'm lying that I take it. Therefore, I have to bring a sacrifice, whether it was by accident or on purpose. I made this oath. But if I really forgot, that I had the money, I really do owe you 5 cents, and I forgot that I do. So that's called onus, and it's exempt. Nevertheless, this is, if the person makes an oath, then he gets beaten for it. Because v'lo love shakatav hotziu miklal malchus, because he makes an asham, because he swore, he took an oath, and the oath he did on purpose. Right? The oath is a thing that is punishable. A person that this is also, in fact, this is 2 sins. Lo tishavu b'shmi l'sheker. You're not allowed to take God's name in vain, which that's going to be the next thing we're going to talk about. Right? Okay, there's details about this. If what you're denying is ground real estate or servants or deeds, right? A check. So then the law is a bit different, which we're going to talk about next time. Okay, have a good day with Mashiach. Now, I wanted to do more of this, but I see there's a lot of material here. So tomorrow, God willing, we'll go further in this Mitzvot HaShem. Shalom uvracha. Mashiach now.